Good morning, everyone. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt alone in a crowded room? Have you ever looked around and realized that, despite all the noise, all the people, all the conversations, no one is really there for you? We live in a world more connected than ever, yet so many of us feel isolated. We measure friendships by followers, by likes, by messages that disappear in 24 hours. But deep down, we crave something real, something meaningful, something meaningful. Being a man with no friends is not just about loneliness, it's about purpose. It's about understanding why we struggle to connect, why we push people away, and why we must change. Because the truth is, friendship isn't about how many people are around, it's about how many people stand with you when it matters most. And today, I want to share with you a new way of looking at this. A way that shifts our focus from having friends to being a friend. Because when we start with why, when we understand what truly drives connection, we begin to build something greater than friendship. We build trust, loyalty, and belonging. Loneliness is not simply about being alone. It is about feeling disconnected even when surrounded by others. Many people assume that if they just meet more people, attend more social events, or engage in more conversations, they will no longer feel lonely. But loneliness is not solved by proximity to others. It is solved by connection. The difference between being alone and being lonely lies in the depth of our relationships, not in the number of people around us. We live in a time where we can communicate with anyone instantly. Social media gives us access to thousands of people, yet studies show that more people than ever feel isolated and disconnected. Why? Because connection is not about exchanging words, it's about feeling understood, valued, and seen. A man with no friends is not necessarily someone who lacks social interaction. He may have colleagues, classmates, or even family members nearby, yet still feel an overwhelming sense of loneliness. This is because true connection requires more than shared space. It requires shared meaning. The challenge many people face is that they confuse interaction with connection. They assume that if they are talking to people, they are building friendships. But friendships are not built on casual conversations alone. They are built on trust, on vulnerability, and on a sense of belonging. When we engage in surface-level interactions without emotional depth, we may fill our schedules but not our hearts. To understand this deeper, we must recognize that human connection is driven by a fundamental need for belonging. Every person desires to be part of something bigger than themselves. Whether it is a family, a group of friends, or a community, the feeling of being included and accepted is what creates emotional fulfillment. However, when we do not find this sense of belonging, we feel isolated. This is why loneliness is not about the absence of people. It is about the absence of connection. One of the greatest barriers to connection is the fear of vulnerability. Many people build walls to protect themselves from rejection, disappointment, or past pain. They present only a carefully curated version of themselves, avoiding deep conversations and personal disclosures. While this may seem like a way to stay safe, it actually creates more isolation. True connection requires authenticity. When we hide who we are, we may avoid rejection, but we also prevent ourselves from forming real bonds. People connect with honesty, with shared struggles, and with moments of genuine emotion. Another reason loneliness persists is that we often wait for others to reach out first. We assume that if someone cares about us, they will make the effort to connect. But connection is a two-way street. If we want meaningful relationships, we must also take responsibility for creating them. This means being proactive, reaching out, expressing appreciation, and showing up for others. Many people who feel lonely are actually surrounded by potential friends, but hesitate to take the first step. They fear that they will be rejected or that they will seem needy. But in reality, most people are just as eager for connection. A simple message, an invitation, or an act of kindness can be the beginning of a strong bond. A crucial factor in overcoming loneliness is shifting the focus from having friends to being a friend. Instead of asking, why don't I have close friends? The better question is, how can I be a better friend to others? When we focus on giving rather than receiving, we create stronger connections. Friendship is not about what we get from others, but about what we share with them. Acts of kindness, listening without judgment, and offering support all create meaningful relationships. At the core of human connection is trust. Trust is what makes people feel safe enough to open up, to share their thoughts, and to rely on each other. Without trust, relationships remain shallow and unfulfilling. But trust is not built overnight. It is created through consistent actions, showing up when it matters, keeping promises, and being present. A man with no friends is not necessarily someone who is unlikable or unwanted. He may simply not have built the trust necessary for deep relationships. It is also important to recognize that connection does not always happen instantly. Building meaningful friendships takes time. It requires patience, effort, and a willingness to invest in others. Many people give up too soon, assuming that if a friendship does not form immediately, it never will. But deep connections grow gradually through shared experiences, trust, and mutual understanding. Those who are willing to invest in relationships over time will eventually find themselves surrounded by meaningful connections. Ultimately, loneliness is not a problem that can be solved by increasing the number of people in our lives. It is about the quality of the relationships we have. People feel lonely not because they lack company, but because they lack connection. The key to overcoming loneliness is not to seek more interactions, but to seek deeper ones. When we prioritize understanding, trust, and authenticity, we create relationships that truly fulfill us. Trust is the foundation of every meaningful relationship. Without trust, a relationship remains shallow, fragile, and unfulfilled. Many people assume that friendship is simply about spending time together or having common interests, but true friendship is built on something much deeper: the ability to rely on one another, to feel safe, and to know that the other person has your best interests at heart. Trust is what transforms an acquaintance into a true friend. It is what makes people feel valued, respected, and emotionally secure. One of the biggest misconceptions about trust is that it should be given automatically. Many people enter relationships expecting immediate trust, but trust is not something that can be demanded. It must be earned. It is built slowly through consistent actions and experiences over time. Small moments of reliability, honesty, and integrity accumulate, forming a foundation strong enough to support a meaningful friendship. Without this foundation, a relationship lacks depth and remains surface level, no matter how much time is spent together. People often struggle to build trust because of past betrayals or disappointments. When someone has been hurt before, they may develop walls to protect themselves from future pain. While this may seem like a logical way to avoid getting hurt, it also prevents meaningful connections from forming. Trust requires a willingness to be vulnerable. It means giving others the opportunity to prove their reliability and sincerity, rather than assuming they will fail. While caution is natural, an unwillingness to trust at all leads to isolation. Honesty is one of the most essential components of trust. People need to feel that they are receiving the truth, even when it is difficult to hear. When someone is consistently honest, it reassures others that they are genuine and dependable. On the other hand, dishonesty, even in small matters, can quickly erode trust. When people sense that they are being misled or manipulated, they instinctively pull away. Even unintentional dishonesty, such as exaggerating stories or omitting important details, can create doubt in a relationship. A friend who is truthful, even when it is uncomfortable, is someone who can be trusted. Consistency is another crucial element of trust. People need to know that they can count on someone not just once, but repeatedly over time. A friend who is supportive one day and absent the next creates uncertainty, making it difficult to build a strong connection. Reliability strengthens bonds because it provides a sense of security. When someone consistently follows through on their promises, responds when needed, and shows up in both good and bad times, trust naturally deepens. Listening is an often overlooked aspect of trust building. Many people focus on speaking, sharing their thoughts and opinions, but true connection happens when people feel heard. A person who listens attentively, without interrupting or dismissing another's feelings, creates an environment of trust. When someone feels understood, they feel safe. They are more likely to open up, to share their thoughts honestly, and to develop a deeper emotional bond. On the other hand, when someone feels ignored or dismissed, they withdraw, making it difficult for trust to grow. Trust also requires a willingness to be vulnerable. Many people avoid opening up because they fear judgment or rejection. However, vulnerability is what allows people to connect on a meaningful level. When someone shares their struggles, fears, and insecurities, they invite others to do the same. This mutual openness creates a bond that cannot be formed through casual conversation alone. A relationship built on trust allows both individuals to be their authentic selves without fear of ridicule or abandonment. Forgiveness plays a key role in maintaining trust. No one is perfect, and mistakes are inevitable in any relationship. When trust is broken, whether through misunderstandings, disappointments, or mistakes, the way it is handled determines whether the relationship can be repaired. Holding on to resentment prevents trust from being rebuilt. However, when people acknowledge their mistakes, apologize sincerely, and make efforts to change, trust can be restored. The ability to forgive and move forward strengthens relationships, rather than allowing them to deteriorate over time. Boundaries are another important aspect of trust. A true friend respects personal limits and understands that trust does not mean unlimited access. When someone sets a boundary, whether it is about time, personal space, or emotional needs, respecting that boundary strengthens trust. It shows that the person values the other's well-being and does not seek to control or take advantage of them. When boundaries are ignored or repeatedly crossed, it damages trust and weakens the relationship. Trust is also reinforced through actions rather than just words. Promises and reassurances mean little if they are not backed up by behavior. People pay attention to consistency between what is said and what is done. When words and actions align, trust is reinforced. When they contradict each other, doubt creeps in. A person who consistently follows through on their commitments earns trust naturally, without needing to convince others of their reliability. Insecurity can often create challenges in trust building. When someone struggles with self-doubt, they may assume others will betray or abandon them, even when there is no evidence of wrongdoing. This can lead to unnecessary suspicion, testing of loyalty, or withdrawal from relationships out of fear. Self-awareness is crucial in recognizing when past experiences or personal fears are affecting the ability to trust. By addressing these insecurities, individuals can create healthier relationships based on genuine trust rather than fear-driven assumptions. Trust is a fragile but powerful force. It takes time to build but can be broken in an instant. However, when nurtured and maintained, it forms the strongest foundation for friendship. A friendship built on trust is one where both individuals feel safe, valued, and supported. It is not about constant proximity, but about knowing that no matter the distance or circumstances, the bond remains unshaken. Many people search for friendship by focusing on what they can gain rather than what they can give. They wonder why they don't have close relationships, why people don't check in on them, or why they feel left out. However, the key to meaningful connections is not in seeking friends, but in being one. Quote, friendship is not something that is received passively. It is something that is built actively. When someone prioritizes being a good friend rather than waiting for others to show up for them, they naturally attract deeper and more fulfilling relationships. A true friend is someone who adds value to the lives of others. They offer support, encouragement, and a sense of belonging. Too often, people look for friends who will make them feel better, but fail to realize that the most fulfilling relationships come from mutual effort. The strongest friendships are built on reciprocity. When someone invests time, care, and effort into others, they create the space for real connection. Relationships that are only about personal gain tend to be shallow and short-lived. One of the first ways to be a better friend is through active listening. Many people approach conversations with the intent to respond rather than to understand. They wait for their turn to speak instead of truly absorbing what the other person is saying. A good friend listens with patience, asks meaningful questions, and makes the other person feel heard. When someone feels genuinely listened to, they feel valued. This kind of attention strengthens trust and creates the kind of bond that goes beyond surface-level interaction. Being a good friend also means showing up consistently. Relationships require reliability. It is not enough to be present only in times of celebration. True friendship is tested during moments of struggle. Many people find themselves feeling lonely because they only engage in relationships when it is convenient. However, friendships deepen when people are there for each other through hardships. Offering a listening ear during a difficult time, checking in when someone is feeling down, and making an effort even when life is busy are all signs of genuine friendship. Another essential aspect of being a good friend is practicing empathy. Everyone experiences challenges, and sometimes people just need to feel understood. A friend who offers judgment rather than understanding creates distance rather than connection. When someone shares their struggles, a good friend validates their feelings instead of dismissing them. Empathy strengthens relationships by creating a safe space where both individuals can be vulnerable without fear of criticism. Kindness plays a crucial role in deepening friendships. Small gestures, such as sending an encouraging message, remembering important dates, or offering help without being asked, can make a significant impact. Many people underestimate the power of small acts of kindness in building lasting relationships. Consistent kindness builds trust and reinforces the idea that the friendship is valuable. People are naturally drawn to those who make them feel appreciated and supported. Respecting boundaries is another key component of being a good friend. Every person has limits regarding their time, emotions, and personal space. A good friend understands and respects these boundaries rather than pushing them. Some people assume that closeness means unlimited access, but true friendship is about understanding when to give space and when to offer support. Respecting boundaries creates a sense of security, allowing friendships to grow without pressure or discomfort. Honesty is also vital in any meaningful friendship. While it is easy to tell people what they want to hear, true friendship requires authenticity. A real friend is not afraid to speak the truth, even when it is difficult. However, honesty should always come from a place of kindness, rather than criticism. When delivered with care, honesty strengthens relationships by fostering trust and open communication. People value friends who are truthful and who help them grow, rather than those who only offer empty praise. Another aspect of being a good friend is celebrating others' successes without jealousy or competition. Many friendships weaken because of unspoken resentment when one person achieves something significant. A true friend takes joy in the success of others and offers genuine support. In a strong friendship, both individuals uplift each other rather than compare themselves. This creates an environment of mutual encouragement, where both people feel safe to pursue their goals without fear of judgment or rivalry. Patience is crucial in developing meaningful friendships. People make mistakes, have bad days, and go through difficult phases. A good friend does not give up on someone at the first sign of conflict or imperfection. They understand that relationships require forgiveness and flexibility. Expecting perfection from others leads to disappointment, but accepting people for who they are strengthens bonds. Long-lasting friendships are built on grace, understanding, and a willingness to work through challenges together. Being a good friend also means taking responsibility for one's actions. When mistakes are made, a true friend acknowledges them rather than making excuses or shifting blame. Apologizing sincerely and making an effort to change shows maturity and respect for the relationship. No friendship is free from conflict, but the way issues are handled determines whether the relationship will grow stronger or fall apart. Taking accountability builds trust and deepens the connection between friends. Generosity in friendships is not about material things, but about time, attention, and effort. Investing in a relationship means making time for meaningful conversations, offering help when needed, and being present without expecting anything in return. Many friendships fade because people stop making the effort. When one or both individuals assume that the relationship will maintain itself, it begins to weaken. Friendship, like any valuable relationship, requires continuous investment to remain strong. The ability to make others feel valued is a defining characteristic of a great friend. Complimenting others, expressing gratitude, and recognizing their strengths make people feel appreciated. When someone feels valued in a friendship, they naturally reciprocate those feelings. This creates a cycle of mutual appreciation, strengthening the bond between both individuals. A friend who makes others feel important and supported will never struggle to build meaningful connections. Vulnerability is often seen as a weakness, something to be avoided or hidden. Many people grow up believing that showing emotions makes them fragile or exposes them to harm. They build walls around themselves, pretending to be strong, unaffected, and independent. However, the truth is that vulnerability is not a weakness. It is the foundation of true connection. Without it, relationships remain shallow, lacking the depth and authenticity needed to form meaningful bonds. People may have many acquaintances, but without vulnerability, they struggle to create genuine friendships. Human beings are wired for connection. From the moment we are born, we seek comfort, belonging, and understanding, but connection requires openness. When people hide their true selves, they prevent others from truly knowing them. Many individuals feel lonely, not because they are physically alone, but because they are emotionally isolated. They suppress their feelings, avoid difficult conversations, and pretend to be someone they are not, all in an effort to protect themselves. Yet, this very act of self-protection keeps them disconnected from others. One of the main reasons people fear vulnerability is the risk of rejection. Opening up to someone means exposing thoughts, fears, and emotions that may not be understood or accepted. The fear of being judged, ridiculed, or dismissed holds many people back from sharing their true selves. However, the reality is that everyone has insecurities, doubts, and struggles. When one person has the courage to be vulnerable, it often encourages others to do the same. This shared openness creates a sense of trust and belonging that cannot be formed through surface-level interactions. Many people believe that strength is about being independent and never needing help. They hesitate to ask for support, fearing that it will make them appear weak or burdensome. But real strength is found in the ability to admit when help is needed. When someone allows others to see their struggles, it creates an opportunity for deeper connection. People feel valued when they are trusted with someone's truth. They feel honored when they can offer comfort and support. This mutual exchange strengthens relationships in a way that superficial conversations never can. Vulnerability also plays a crucial role in communication. Many conflicts in relationships arise not from actual problems, but from unspoken feelings. People hesitate to express their needs, assuming that others should already understand them. They suppress their frustrations, disappointments, and fears, only for them to build up over time and cause resentment. But when individuals communicate openly, even about uncomfortable topics, relationships become stronger. Being honest about emotions, even when it feels difficult, allows both people to navigate challenges with understanding and mutual respect. Trust and vulnerability go hand in hand. Without vulnerability, trust cannot grow. When someone consistently hides their emotions or keeps their struggles to themselves, it creates distance. People may sense that something is being withheld, leading to doubt and uncertainty. On the other hand, when someone is open about their feelings, it signals trust. It shows that they believe in the strength of the relationship and are willing to be honest, even when it feels risky. This honesty fosters deeper bonds and makes friendships more resilient. Many people feel pressure to present a perfect version of themselves, believing that any flaws will make them unworthy of connection. They avoid sharing their failures, mistakes, or moments of weakness, thinking that these aspects of themselves should be hidden. However, perfection is an illusion. True connection comes from authenticity, from showing up as a real, imperfect person. When someone is willing to be seen as they are, without pretense, it encourages others to do the same. This creates relationships based on honesty rather than on unrealistic expectations. Vulnerability also strengthens emotional resilience. Many people believe that suppressing emotions makes them stronger, but in reality, avoiding emotions only makes them more overwhelming. When someone allows themselves to feel and express emotions in a healthy way, they develop a greater sense of self-awareness and emotional intelligence. This not only benefits personal well-being, but also enhances relationships. People who are in touch with their own emotions are better at understanding and empathizing with others. They are more capable of offering support and receiving it when needed. One of the greatest acts of vulnerability is expressing love and appreciation. Many people hold back from telling others how much they mean to them out of fear of seeming too emotional or overly attached. However, expressing gratitude, admiration, and care strengthens relationships. When someone takes the risk of showing affection without expecting anything in return, it creates a deeper sense of connection. People long to feel valued, and hearing genuine words of appreciation makes them feel seen and understood. Being vulnerable also means being willing to take risks in relationships. Many people hesitate to initiate friendships or deepen existing ones because they fear rejection. They worry about whether the other person will reciprocate their efforts, so they hold back, waiting for the other person to make the first move. But connection requires courage. It means being willing to reach out, to invite, to share, even when there is uncertainty. When someone takes the first step in building a connection, they create the opportunity for something meaningful to develop. Another important aspect of vulnerability is accepting that not every relationship will last. Some people will not respond to openness with kindness. Some friendships may fade despite efforts to maintain them. But this should not be a reason to avoid vulnerability altogether. Every meaningful connection carries the risk of loss, but without taking that risk, true connection is impossible. The key is to recognize that vulnerability is not about controlling outcomes. It is about showing up authentically regardless of what happens next. Vulnerability is not about oversharing or exposing every detail of one's life to everyone. It is about choosing to be open in a way that fosters real connection. It means recognizing when to trust someone with deeper emotions and when to set boundaries for personal well-being. True vulnerability is intentional. It is the conscious decision to let people see who we really are, knowing that this is what creates genuine relationships. Loneliness is often misunderstood. Many people assume that being alone is the same as feeling lonely, but the two are entirely different. A person can be surrounded by others and still feel isolated, while another can spend time alone and feel completely at peace. Loneliness is not about physical proximity to others. It is about emotional connection. It is the absence of meaningful relationships, the feeling of being unseen, unheard, or unvalued. It is a deep sense of isolation that does not necessarily disappear just because there are people around. Many individuals struggle with loneliness because they believe it is a reflection of their worth. They assume that if they had value, others would want to be around them, that if they were more interesting, funnier, or better in some way, they would have stronger relationships. However, loneliness is not always about a lack of personal worth. It is often about circumstances, mindsets, or patterns of behavior that create distance between people. Understanding this distinction is important because it shifts the focus from self-blame to self-awareness. One of the biggest reasons people feel lonely is that they wait for others to make the first move. They assume that if someone wants to connect with them, they will reach out. However, friendships and relationships require effort from both sides. Expecting others to take the initiative while remaining passive only deepens feelings of loneliness. Many people are willing to form connections but are also hesitant or unsure of how to do so. Taking the first step, starting a conversation, extending an invitation, or expressing interest in another person's life can open the door to meaningful relationships. Another factor that contributes to loneliness is the fear of rejection. Many people hold themselves back from connecting with others because they are afraid of being dismissed or ignored. They convince themselves that it is safer to remain distant than to risk the pain of feeling unwanted. However, this mindset creates a self-fulfilling cycle. The more someone avoids reaching out, the more isolated they become. Rejection is a natural part of life, but it does not define a person's worth. The key to overcoming loneliness is learning to take chances despite the fear of rejection. Technology has changed the way people connect, but it has also created new forms of loneliness. Social media gives the illusion of connection while often deepening feelings of isolation. Many people compare their lives to carefully curated online versions of others, believing that everyone else has thriving social circles while they are left out. This false perception can make loneliness feel even more overwhelming. However, genuine connection is not built through likes or comments. It is built through real, meaningful interactions. Prioritizing face-to-face conversations, deep discussions, and shared experiences leads to stronger bonds than any digital interaction can provide. Another reason people struggle with loneliness is a lack of emotional availability. Many individuals build walls to protect themselves from being hurt. They keep relationships at a surface level, avoiding deep conversations or meaningful vulnerability. While this may provide temporary protection, it also prevents true connection. People cannot form close relationships if they are unwilling to be open. Being emotionally available means allowing others to see the real person beneath the surface, to share struggles, dreams, and fears. It means taking down the walls that create emotional distance. Loneliness is often linked to personal expectations. Many people have unrealistic ideas about what friendships or relationships should look like. They believe that a good friend should always be available, that a meaningful relationship should always be exciting, or that people should naturally understand their needs without being told. When reality does not match these expectations, they feel disappointed and disconnected. Adjusting expectations and recognizing that relationships take effort, patience, and communication can help reduce feelings of loneliness. A lack of self-acceptance also plays a significant role in loneliness. Many people believe that they need to change themselves to fit in, to be more likable, or to meet certain societal standards. However, true connection comes from authenticity. People are drawn to those who are comfortable being themselves. When someone embraces who they are, they attract relationships that are built on genuine connection rather than superficial approval. Self-acceptance fosters confidence, and confidence makes it easier to build meaningful connections. One common mistake people make when dealing with loneliness is seeking companionship from the wrong sources. They may stay in unhealthy relationships out of fear of being alone or surround themselves with people who do not truly value them. Not all company is good company, and not all relationships bring fulfillment. Recognizing when a connection is one-sided, toxic, or unfulfilling is important in overcoming loneliness. True friendship is about quality, not quantity. Having one or two meaningful relationships is far more valuable than having many superficial ones. Another way to combat loneliness is by shifting the focus outward. Many people become consumed by their own feelings of isolation, which can make the problem seem even bigger. However, focusing on others, whether through acts of kindness, volunteering, or simply being present for someone else, creates a sense of purpose and connection. When people stop waiting for others to fill the void and instead focus on being a source of support and encouragement, they naturally form deeper relationships. Self-growth is also an essential part of overcoming loneliness. Many people assume that their loneliness will disappear once they find the right friends or the right relationship. However, personal fulfillment does not come from external validation alone. Engaging in hobbies, developing skills, and pursuing passions not only improves self-esteem, but also creates opportunities to meet like-minded people. When someone invests in their own growth, they become more confident, more interesting, and more open to new connections. The way loneliness is perceived also impacts how it is experienced. Some people see loneliness as a failure, while others see it as an opportunity for self-reflection. Being alone can be a time for personal development, creativity, and self-discovery. Instead of viewing solitude as something negative, it can be reframed as a chance to understand oneself better, to clarify personal goals, and to build inner strength. When people learn to be comfortable with themselves, they bring a sense of wholeness into their relationships rather than seeking connection out of desperation. Recognizing that loneliness is a common experience can also help ease its burden. Many people assume they are the only ones struggling with it, but in reality, countless others feel the same way. Understanding that loneliness is not a personal flaw, but a human condition can make it easier to navigate. It is not a permanent state, nor is it an indication of unworthiness. It is simply a signal that deeper connection is needed, and by taking intentional steps toward building relationships, it can be overcome. The journey to meaningful connection starts from within. Many people believe that finding friends or building relationships is about looking outward, meeting the right people, saying the right things, or being in the right environment. However, the foundation of all strong relationships begins with self-awareness. The way a person views themselves shapes the way they interact with others. If someone does not value themselves, they may struggle to believe that others will value them. If they do not understand their own emotions, they may find it difficult to express them to others. Self-awareness is the first step toward genuine connection because it allows people to build relationships that are based on authenticity rather than insecurity or pretense. A person's mindset plays a significant role in how they experience relationships. Many individuals carry limiting beliefs that prevent them from forming meaningful connections. They may think, I am not interesting enough, people do not like me, or I will always be alone. Create a self-fulfilling prophecy. When someone believes they are unworthy of connection, they may unknowingly push people away or fail to notice when others are trying to connect with them. Changing this mindset requires conscious effort. It involves recognizing negative thought patterns and replacing them with more positive, constructive beliefs. Instead of assuming that they are unlikable, a person can choose to believe that they have unique qualities to offer. Instead of fearing rejection, they can see each interaction as an opportunity to learn and grow. Confidence is another key factor in building relationships. People are naturally drawn to those who are comfortable with themselves. Confidence does not mean being the loudest person in the room or having an outgoing personality. It means being secure in one's own identity. When someone is confident, they do not need to seek approval from others. They do not try to impress people by pretending to be someone they are not. Instead, they are able to engage with others in a genuine and open way. Confidence allows for vulnerability, which is essential for deep and lasting connections. Understanding personal values is also important in forming meaningful relationships. Many people experience loneliness not because they are alone, but because they are surrounded by people who do not align with their values. They may feel disconnected in a crowd, not because they lack social skills, but because they are engaging in relationships that do not truly fulfill them. Taking the time to identify personal values, whether it is honesty, kindness, ambition, creativity, or something else, helps individuals seek out relationships that are based on true compatibility rather than mere convenience. Boundaries are another essential component of healthy relationships. Some people struggle with loneliness because they have been hurt in the past. They may have given too much of themselves in relationships that were not reciprocated, leading to exhaustion and disappointment. Others may have a hard time saying no, fearing that setting boundaries will push people away. However, boundaries do not destroy relationships. They strengthen them. They create clarity, ensuring that relationships are built on mutual respect rather than obligation or guilt. A person who respects their own boundaries and those of others fosters an environment of trust, which is the foundation of any meaningful connection. Self-care also plays a crucial role in building relationships. Many people believe that they must prioritize relationships above everything else, but neglecting personal well-being often leads to burnout and resentment. Taking care of oneself, mentally, emotionally, and physically ensures that a person can show up as their best self in relationships. It is difficult to offer support, kindness, or presence to others when running on empty. Investing in self-care, whether through exercise, meditation, creative activities, or simply rest, helps individuals bring positive energy into their relationships. Personal growth is another key element in the journey to meaningful connection. Relationships are not static, they evolve as people grow. Many individuals hold onto friendships or relationships that no longer serve them, afraid of change. Others may expect relationships to remain the same even as life circumstances shift. However, growth is natural, and embracing it allows relationships to flourish rather than stagnate. A person who is committed to learning, improving, and expanding their experiences will naturally attract people who are on a similar path. Communication is one of the most important skills in forming strong relationships. Many misunderstandings, conflicts, and lost connections result from poor communication. Some people assume that others should be able to read their minds, that their needs should be understood without being expressed. Others may hesitate to share their thoughts and feelings out of fear of confrontation or rejection. However, open and honest communication strengthens relationships. It creates clarity, prevents resentment, and allows people to feel truly seen and heard. Learning to express emotions, needs, and boundaries in a healthy way leads to deeper and more fulfilling connections. Gratitude also plays a powerful role in relationships. Many people focus on what they lack in their social lives rather than appreciating what they already have. They may dwell on the friendships they wish they had, the invitations they did not receive, or the moments they felt excluded. However, shifting the focus to gratitude changes perspective. Taking time to appreciate the people who are present, the small moments of connection, and the opportunities to build new relationships fosters a more positive outlook. Gratitude strengthens existing relationships and creates space for new ones to grow. Forgiveness is another critical aspect of connection. Many people carry past hurts that prevent them from forming new relationships. They may have been betrayed, abandoned, or let down, and as a result, they build emotional walls. While it is important to learn from past experiences, holding on to resentment only creates more loneliness. Forgiveness does not... but it does mean letting go of the weight that past wounds carry. It means recognizing that not every person is the same and that new relationships should not be judged based on past pain. Letting go of resentment opens the heart to new possibilities. Patience is also necessary in the process of forming meaningful connections. Many people expect friendships and relationships to develop instantly, but strong bonds take time. Building trust, creating shared experiences, and deepening emotional intimacy do not happen overnight. Some of the most fulfilling relationships are the ones that grow gradually. Being patient and allowing connections to develop naturally prevents disappointment and ensures that relationships are built on a strong foundation rather than forced expectations. Finally, embracing solitude as a part of life helps create a sense of balance. While human connection is essential, learning to be comfortable alone is equally important. People who are at peace with themselves do not seek relationships out of desperation, but out of a genuine desire for connection. They do not depend on others to fill a void, but instead view relationships as an addition to an already fulfilling life. When someone is comfortable in their own company, they bring a sense of wholeness into their relationships, allowing them to form connections that are based on mutual appreciation rather than need.